Well, the whole reason, Michael, we began testing is because we started seeing very strong phenomenological changes happening right in a weekend workshop, like people with MS getting out of their wheelchair, and people with lupus and celiac disease all of a sudden getting better, and chronic pain and scheduled for surgeries getting up and having no pain at all. So when that moment I realized that something supernatural was happening, that I wanted to quantify it. So we brought in a team of scientists and researchers, and we've done over 4,750 brain scans now, quantitative EEGs. We measure people's brains before they start an event, 5-day event. We measure their brains at the end of 5 days. And what I want to see is that the change isn't just in their mind, it's in their brain. Mm-hmm. We randomly select different people, and we measure their brain in real time during meditation. And I want to know their inner workings, so when they're there and when they're not. And we've just gained a tremendous amount of knowledge about that state. We have people wearing HRV monitors. We tape them to their chest. We partner with the HeartMath Institute. We've been working with them for 3.5, 4 years now. They're good friends of mine. And we've measured, thousands and thousands of hearts. And we want people to regulate and sustain brain coherence and heart coherence. Mm-hmm. So we can say to the person, hey, you know what, Michael, you're doing it. Or, hey, Michael, you know what, you're actually not doing it. And let's get you trained here to be able to do it. We measure the energy around people's bodies. We measure the energy centers of their bodies. We measure the energy of the room. We measure epigenetic changes in urine. We measure simultaneous heart coherence amongst 50 people to see if 500 or 700 people can affect 50 or 70 people wearing HRV monitors and begin to influence their autonomic nervous system while they're just sitting there relaxing. If the person begins to create an elevated emotion and begins to send the intent for the greatest good of the people wearing the heart rate monitors, will they all go into heart coherence at the same time? The answer is yes. So we've done a tremendous amount of research. I'll tell you exactly what's rocked my world more than anything else. And as a matter of fact, it's so supernatural that I'm going to write another book on it. We have seen, there comes a moment in a lot of our workshops where people start to have very profound internal experiences, like full-on IMAX experiences. And I always wondered if that could be measurable. So if you look at a strip chart of a brain scan, you see a brain scan like this, and you see brain waves like this, and they're moving, and you see alpha, and you see beta, and then you see theta, and you see delta, and you can see, 16 to 20 leads on the brain. You can see the front of the brain, the side of the brain, the back of the brain, the top of the brain, and you can measure what's going on in a person's brain. Well, we've got so many studies where all of a sudden we're seeing the slow change, and all of a sudden, imagine grabbing a handful of Crayola crayons and just going like this up and down the entire brain scan. You can't see anything. As a matter of fact, you can't even measure that because it looks like a snowstorm. And whatever's going on between that person's ears in that moment is absolutely real. In fact, they're having a full-on sensory experience without their senses. It is more lucid and more real than anything in your external environment. And we've seen that so many times. Now, when a brain circuitry fires, a cluster of networks of neurons fire, normally we produce about 40 microvolts of energy. So 10 to 60 is usually normal. 40 is about the normal. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're probably doing that. But when we started figuring out how to measure this, and we figured out how much energy was in the brain, we were measuring 1 million microvolts of energy, 2.5 million microvolts of energy, 4 million microvolts of energy. That's 100,000 times normal. That person's brain is producing a whole new stream of consciousness, and whatever's going on between their ears is where reality is. And that, we take the person out and we say to them, so what happened? And they just are in tears and they say, oh my God, I just had the most profound experience. Now, if experience enriches the brain, mm-hmm. and experience produces an emotion, they're rewriting their biology in 1 second. And what's cool about it is that the neuroscientists, neuroscientific community that's come and studied our work in our events said, oh, that person's having a seizure right now. They're having a seizure. And we kind of look over at the person. She's got tears of joy rolling down her face. She's got a big smile. And we're saying, really? She doesn't look like she's having a seizure to me. She looks like she's doing really good. So we measure her HRV. She's wearing an HRV monitor while she's producing 1 million microvolts of energy in her brain instead of 40. And we say, We look at her HRV measurements and we see that her brain is in love with, her heart is in love with the experience. Her heart is in coherence for the whole entire hour. If she was having a seizure, her heart would be going crazy. So the mystical moment is being defined. It's being quantitatively studied. And now we're learning how to induce that state for people. And I'm telling you, you have one of those experiences, just one, and you can't ever go back to business as usual, ever. And you can't say that the person can't make their brain do that. It's actually happening to them. Yeah, and people say they want the unknown and they want the mystical. But I'm learning that a lot of people want it on their own terms. And a lot of times an unknown is you can't predict it. And it's going to be, for a lot of people, it scares them, And so we work pretty diligently with our students, and we ask them, of course, we prepare them that when the unknown happens to surrender to it. And when they finally do, this is the other outstanding thing, like I used to think that delta brainwaves was deep sleep. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing people producing millions of microvolts of energy, and they're in their deepest, their body is sound asleep. But their brain is fired up. So there's no resistance. They're surrendered to such a degree that the body is out of the way. And we know this, that when people start to have those transcendental moments and they start to resist or they start to contract, their brainwaves move up into alpha or higher into beta, and that's the moment they lose it. So bottom line is, when the mystical happens or when the unknown happens, surrender to it, because it'll always be the ride of your life. We're wired for this. I think we make it way more complicated than it really needs to be. I think it would make sense that if you're spending 70% of the time, Michael, living by the hormones of stress, and your attention is on your outer environment, your attention is on your body, and your attention is on the future, the predictable future, the familiar past, wherever you place your attention is where you place your energy. So for the most part, that's who you believe you are. So it would make sense then that in order for you to begin to tap into greater levels of consciousness, it would be a good idea to sit down and close your eyes and disconnect from your external environment, less sensory information coming into your brain. Play soft music in the background or put earplugs in your ear. That's less information coming from your environment, so your attention moves from your outer world to your inner world. Sit your body down and make it sit still and not let it get up and do things so it can experience things, to feel emotions, to eat, to smell, to do whatever, to taste. And if there's even less sensory information coming in because you're not moving your body around, then you're getting beyond your body. And if you're not thinking about tomorrow or the next day or your emails or your appointments or what happened yesterday or the emotions, and you can work on the present moment, that's the moment where you begin to fall into possibility, because in the quantum field, all potentials exist in the present moment. So then teaching people how to find the sweet spot of the generous present moment and allowing them to unfold into this realm, this infinite field of possibilities as a thought, that's when they begin to get beyond their body, their environment, and time, and that's when they begin to connect with a greater level of awareness. And our students, we've measured this now, our students can change their brainwaves and slip into this state in like 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 9 seconds, 12 seconds, 13 seconds. We've measured it, and it's not like, hey, I'm getting to the quantum field before you. It's just kind of like, I know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And they've done it enough times, and we've been able to reproduce it now, and so a lot of people have the skill to be able to do it, and then to be able to linger there without thinking about your face or your wardrobe or your name or your gender or what you're going to eat or how long it's going to go. Getting people past all of that stuff, that is when the magic happens every time. So the matter doesn't produce much of an effect on matter. It takes a long time for matter to influence matter. But when you become pure consciousness, consciousness is the epiphenomenon of matter, and that's when you can begin to exert greater changes on your body or on your life.